Hi everyone, welcome to my labour and delivery story. I'm sorry that I've been MIA for like a month. Um, I have just been really loving and enjoying this time. So I had my little baby girl on the 13th of October. So she's 4.5 weeks old now. Um, and she's just awesome. It's just, I'm loving it. It's so amazing, and just the whole thing was more than I could have ever hoped for or expected or anything like that. So, loving it. So, I went for a walk with some friends on Sunday, the 12th of October, uh, and it was because I've had pelvic instability the whole time I was pregnant. Going for a walk, we went very slowly, and it was more just letting the kids sort of rollerblade around and stuff like that. So it was a very slow walk, but I was kind of hoping that it might start something, and I could feel I'd been having contractions for ages, so I could feel more of those, and I didn't really think too much of it. But I guess, like, looking back on it, they probably were a bit stronger as we were walking. Um, and then we came home and went straight out basically to dinner with some other friends and their kids. So we went to dinner at like 6 o'clock, super early. We just went to Taco Bell and just a cheap Mexican place for dinner. I didn't have anything spicy. It wasn't like having the jalapenos or anything like that, although I did think about it because I was very uncomfortable at that time. Um, and I could start feeling a little bit more of the contractions and everything like that, but I didn't want to say anything to our friends because I didn't know if it was actually labour or not. Like it just, I just couldn't tell. And my husband thought it would be a great idea to start drinking margaritas with his friend. So by the third margarita, I was like, you need to slow down. Like, there's a chance you'll have to take me to the hospital tonight. And he was like, no, no, no. Like, it's all fine. We've been saying that for weeks, and like she's still not here, and da 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 da. So, he didn't really think much of it. So then we got into the car at like 7:45, so still early, 7:45 that night, and we got in, and I was like, no, I really think that this could be it. Like, I'm starting to go into labor, I think. And he was like, do I need to like go for a run to run out the alcohol? Like, what do I do? And I was like, no, no, it's fine. Like, it'll be hours and da 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 da. So we just went home, and I started timing the contractions at 8 o'clock that night. And then they were 10 minutes apart, and they were really sort of fine. Like, I could just feel them, and starting to get a little bit uncomfortable, but nothing that was fine. Then like half an hour later, they were 5 minutes apart, and I thought, is this going really quickly, or like, I don't know what's going on? But they stayed like that for hours. So it was all fine. I could manage everything, was totally fine. And then it just kind of got to a point around like 10 o'clock that night, or 10:30, where it all kind of switched. So the contractions had been like in the front, in my front and in my back. But then around like 10:30, it just all switched and was all in my back, my lower back, and getting really painful, really uncomfortable, having to sort of stop what I was doing through them, and kind of breathe through them a little bit more. And we called the hospital, and they said, yeah, we think you might be in labour, but this is early stages, so sort of hang tight and come in when you're like two minutes apart, because I was 4 to 5 minutes apart. They're like, come in when you're like 2 minutes apart, because it's night time, so they're like, you'll get here easy. Or if you need pain relief, or if you just really feel like you need to be in the hospital, come in. So I waited out, and I watched Harry Potter because that's what I do. I love it. And I did that for quite a few hours, and my husband was just continuously getting me hot water bottles for my back because all the pain was in my back. And it was at this time when we were like, oh no, we're really in labour, that he was like, oh, I'm just going to vacuum the house. So then he vacuumed the house, and then he cleaned the bathroom, and he cleaned the house, and he cleaned the kitchen, and all while getting me hot water bottles and checking on me and stuff. And he just really wanted the house to be nice and clean, so that when we came home, we'd come home to a nice clean house. So he was doing that, and at one point he came down and was just lying down on the bed with me. I like had a shower for a little while and that kind of thing, but then I was just lying on the bed, and he came down and he had a tea towel, a wet tea towel on his hand. And I was like, what's wrong? He's like, no, nothing. Like, I just burnt it a little bit, but it's fine. And he'd actually poured the kettle while getting me a hot water bottle. He poured it directly onto his hand, like this whole area of his hand. And he didn't want to tell me because I was in labour. So he kind of just sort of sucked it up. But it was a really, really bad burn. By 1 o'clock in the morning, I was like, I'm done being at home, and I was positive that I was just being a wimp and I was only 1 to 2 centimeters, but I just didn't want to be at home anymore. And I was like, oh, if I'm only 1 to 2 centimeters, I'm getting an epidural. If I'm further along, then we'll see how it goes. But I was just super uncomfortable. So we got into the car and drove to the hospital, and at one in the morning, and of course we got every single red light possible the whole way there, but there was no traffic because it was 1 in the morning, so it was fine. And Matt had his window down. It was raining, and he was just continuously getting had his hands out and was getting the rainwater from the side of the car to put on his burn because he was burnt so much. Anyway, but he had sort of in his head that, oh, it'll be fine because we're going to a hospital. They'll have something for a burn there. But anyway, so we got to the hospital and we sort of checked in, and they were so kind. And I was like, I'm sure I'm being a wimp and I'm only 1 to 2 centimeters, but I'm just really uncomfortable. And she was like, no, like, you never know, like, give yourself some credit. And then she checked me and she's like, oh yeah, you're only 1 to 2 centimeters. But I was fully effaced. So they were like, that's the good part. Like, it's awesome that you've done that part. And when they said, yeah, you're 1 to 2, I was like, let's just do this. Let's get the epidural. Because I'm just really uncomfortable. And being at only 1 to 2, I was like, I can't do this for another 10 hours or whatever it is till I'm fully dilated, because it was just like, I was just not comfortable. So the anaesthetist came back, because we just got home, came back and gave me my epidural at like 2:30 in the morning. And from then on, oh, my husband was so cute. The needle's like a really good size needle that goes into your back, and I kind of just lean over a pillow thing while they do it, but they give you a little local anesthetic, which is like a tiny sting, and you can't even feel it compared to contractions. So they gave me that, but my husband saw the needle before they gave it to me, and then he had like his hands like this to my head, and he had his forehead on my head, and he was like this, and he's like, it's all right, da, 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 da. And it was so that he couldn't see it going in, because he didn't want to see like the needle going into my back. So he kind of did that so that neither of us could see what was going on. And but it was totally fine. Like, I had no issues. Didn't like it wasn't really it wasn't painful at all. Like, it was totally fine. So I got that, and then just lay down, and then just they sort of said that my contractions were coupling contractions. So on this, like, the little scale, your contractions start and then they go up to the peak, and then they come back down again, and then there's a little break. But coupling contractions, there's no break. Like, they just go up and then down and then up and then down, and then there might be a little break in between, but there's always 2, and then sometimes a little break and then 2, or it just continuously kind of goes. And because all the pain was in my back and all that sort of stuff, they said that she was posterior, so her spine was to my spine, which is why all the pain was in my back, and it was really painful. So that was that. She was posterior, back to back, had the epidural, lay down, and because the contractions had been so frequent, when the epidural started working, you can just feel like it just kind of knocks off the edge of it, like you don't really feel it go to the peak, and then the next one it's just a little bit less, and the next one it's a little bit less, until you can't feel them at all. And then when I couldn't feel them at all, I started panicking because I was like, wait, have they slowed down? Am I not in labor? Have they stopped? But the machine was next to me. They're like, no, these contractions have not changed. Like, they are still really strong and they're still going, and so it was fine. And then my husband was like, went out, once I was all sorted and comfortable, then he went out and was like, I burnt my hand, and I was just wondering if you had anything that I could put on it. And they were like, no, we're a maternity hospital. So they gave him a condom that they filled with water and put in the freezer. So it was like a condom of ice, which he wasn't thrilled about using. But then they ended up getting him like a jug of iced water to put his hand in. So he did that. And he was so good, trying not to make a fuss about it because I was in labour. And then it was just amazing. We just hung out. Matt got a little bit of a sleep. I tried to sort of doze. We had the most amazing midwife. The hospital that I went to, you get one midwife per patient, so I didn't have to share her with anyone. I could have her sit with me the entire time if I wanted, or she'd just, go out and do whatever. She'd sort of leave me to myself if I wanted to, leave us in the room, or she'd, she was just amazing. I could not have asked for a better midwife, and she was so lovely, and we were just chatting about sort of life and this and that, and, just about nothing. So the whole experience was I was just so relaxed, and so was Matt, and it was just sort of easygoing, and loved it. I was tired, a bit drowsy. I could still move my legs, although they were really heavy, but I could still move them around. I could still move my feet. I did need help to fully move from side to side if they had to move me, but I could kind of help to the best of my ability, and it wasn't like I didn't feel like I had no control at all. I don't think I would have been able to stand up or anything, but I still had feeling, because I couldn't feel any pain, but I still had feeling. So that sort of went on, and then by sort of midday on the 13th, the Monday, they checked me and I was fully dilated. But my obstetrician was in theatre and he wanted to be there, and I really wanted him to be there as well. And they kind of said, well, why don't we just hang out, and your body's just going to naturally bring the baby down. So that might mean a little bit less pushing. So we did that. So we just hung out, and I could feel her coming down. It wasn't painful or anything like that, but I could definitely feel her moving through. Then my obstetrician came it would have been at about 1:30, it would have been, and he was like, oh, I can see the head, yeah, it's time to start pushing. He's like, I'm going to go down to my office, and then he kind of went through, you've had an epidural, so it could take a couple of hours, and it's sometimes a bit trickier to know where to push, and also there's a higher chance that you might need help, like with forceps or a vacuum or something like that. So I was kind of like in it for the long haul. I was like, yeah, it's going to be a few hours, and that's all right, and if we need help, then that's fine, like whatever is best for the baby. So then he left, and I started pushing, and they had to tell me when I was having a contraction because I couldn't feel it because of the epidural. They had to tell me, but then when you have a contraction, you have to do 3 pushes, and it wasn't like a do 3 pushes for 10 counts and someone counting. They literally just say just push until you can't push anymore, and then you have a quick breath, and then you do the next one, quick breath, next one. So for 3 pushes per contraction. So I did my first one, which is like the practice one. And my midwife was like, oh, no, we're not practicing anymore. You're doing exactly what you need to be doing. Like, don't change it. Don't push anywhere else. Like, exactly what you're doing is perfect. So they did that. So we just kept on doing that. And then about half an hour later, or 25 minutes later, another midwife walked in. And I don't know if my midwife had called her or if she had just walked in, but my midwife was like, oh, look at Emma pushing. And I did like the first of the 3 contractions when she was in the room. And then she just left. And then maybe a minute later, my obstetrician was back. And she just ran out and got him and was like, nah, this baby's coming right now. So he just came up, sort of suited himself up. I did another set of pushing. And then he's like, right, the next time you have a contraction, you'll have a baby. And I was like, no, like, I thought you said it was going to be hours. It's been like half an hour. He's like, yep. And then basically the next second she was out and she was on my chest, and it was just bang, like so quick, so easy, so amazing. I would think I was a little bit in shock because I was expecting it to take so long, and it didn't take that long, but she was there, and she has so much hair, and she had like a little, yeah, just so beautiful and so gorgeous, and it was such an amazing moment. My husband obviously was there the whole time. He was at this end. He wasn't too keen to go down the other end. And the midwife was with me, and then my obstetrician, and that was it. And it was so amazing, and it was so beautiful. And they put her straight on my chest, and she was there for a long time, for about an hour. They had her on me, and then they gave her to my husband, and I got up, and so they turned the epidural off when she was born. I got up and had a shower. I had to have a little bit of help from the midwife, but no complications at all. Like, just got up, was walking, had a shower, clean. Then we walked to our hospital room, and yeah, and that was the whole kind of experience. So it was so beautiful, and it was so lovely, and I just feel so lucky, so incredibly lucky to have had such an amazing experience. The whole thing was stress-free, and I'm so lucky that it happened that way. There was no complications, and she just came out and was there and was perfect and was screaming her little head off, and she was amazing. So she was born at 3.3 kilos. I don't know what that is in pounds. It's like 7.3 or something pounds. And so very average. She was 49 centimeters long, and just cruised into this world, and has been cruising ever since. We stayed at the hospital for 5 days, and the hospital that I went to, all the rooms are like queen rooms, so they have queen size beds in all of them, so your husband or partner can stay the entire time. They basically have room service, so you can just have, they want you to have 3 courses for lunch and dinner, so you just eat a lot. And you know, we had family come and visit, but we just got time in. It was like being in a bubble of the 3 of us, and so we had a lot of time of just being the 3 of us and just really enjoying those first few days, and not having to worry about anything because the hospital had everything there for us. And it was amazing to be there as well, because by the time I left, my milk had come through and I'd established breastfeeding. It wasn't so easy in the beginning. I had to be hand expressed, and she had to be fed through a syringe for the first few days. It wasn't until day 4 that she was able to latch with the help of a nipple shield. So I just felt so relieved that I was in such a wonderful place. I had so much support around me. The midwives were amazing. The lactation consultants were amazing. Everyone was there and everyone was on my side. I was very determined to breastfeed. I think that if I'd gone to a different hospital and had to be discharged after a day, because I know that quite a lot of hospitals, public hospitals in our area, you only stay there for 24 hours if you have a natural birth. I think that if that had happened for me personally, I wouldn't be breastfeeding. I would be very overwhelmed. So being where we were, I was just so thankful and so lucky, and everything kind of, a bit of a rocky start, but just having so much support to continue on. And so very pleased to say that breastfeeding has been great for us, and it's working really well. Breastfeeding was my own choice. I really wanted to do it, so I completely understand those who formula, and sometimes babies need to be on formula instead of breast milk for lots of different reasons. And I just think that it's whatever works, whatever is going to give your baby what they need. You've just got to do it. It's just about survival, I think. And I was just very lucky to have had the outcome that I had personally wanted. So that was kind of it. I did have 2 stitches, but my obstetrician said like everything was awesome and really great. And then he actually called me and came and visited while I was in the hospital and stuff. And I was just like, I'm so thankful to have such an amazing experience. And he was like, that wasn't quite a normal experience for first time mothers. Like she came quite easily. But I think because I had semi-strong abdominal muscles before I got pregnant, and obviously so some of them sort of stayed, I think that helped with pushing, and I was just super determined. So that is actually it. That's my labour and delivery story. I'm going to be doing more videos over the next few weeks and continuing on. I'm so sorry it's taken me so long to get this one up. But I will be doing some different videos about what we used from our hospital bag, and some reviews on the products and things that we've been using. We're doing a mix of cloth nappies and disposable at the moment, and really enjoying the flexibility. I'm using a lot of hybrids, and it's all working really well, and I just feel very lucky. I'm just loving this time. It's so nice. I've been really thankful. So thank you so much for those who have subscribed, and if you haven't, please do, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks. Bye.